Hey guys, as always, whenever I record long forms, I am recording with my phone. This is not a good angle for what I want to talk to you guys about today. Give me a second. This should be better. That should be good. Okay. I came today to talk about swords, traditional katanas used by samurai. Here's why. Movies get a lot of things wrong about a katana. Most of the time you see a sword holstered, katanas especially holstered like this. When it's a samurai, no. I forgot what the form that they use is called, or the moveset, whatever you want to call it, is called, but it is not, you do not draw your sword this way. Now, in a lot of animes, you'll see, like, certain people who, especially animes, you'll see certain people draw their sword like that, and then they'll use one-handed. Not usually how samurais, not ever a samurai. Typically, your traditional samurais would use their swords. You flip it over. It looks weird. It sounds weird. If you have that here, it's going to sit like this most of the time. Now, here's the thing. You're going to grab it under. Your thumb is going to be holding it like that. You're going to push up. Usually there's a really tight lock. So you're going to push up with the thumb that's on the scabbard here. The thumb that's on the scabbard here, you're going to push up on the little cross thing there. And you're going to pull. Once you have it here, you're going to drop. You're going to set your hand. You're going to drop your scabbard. Usually you have your hand just about set already, but you're going to drop your scabbard. Not literally. I have a blanket there. Don't worry. Scabbard's fine. But you're just going to let it go. This is a typical stance. This is lined up with the head of my opponent, who is at this moment the same height as me, just for the sake of presentation. Moving forward, each move of the sword is a move of your feet. You step as you slice or block. Now, if you are moving backwards, you are defending. You do not attack while moving backwards. If you are moving to attack, you are moving forward. That is just how the flow works. Now, yes, doing cool swings can be fun. That is some video latency, but doing cool swings can be fun with swords. And I love doing them, especially with actual weighted, like, good weighted katanas like this one. Now, this is a training sword for all intents and purposes. This is not actually a katana. It is not a bladed weapon. This is just really hard, really durable plastic, so I can whack this against a tree and it'll be perfectly fine. Maybe a couple scuff marks, right? Past that. You'll see a lot of people do this, not usually with katanas, but with swords. Now, if you're doing this, not as practicality, not you're going to use this, but if you're holding it like this, and you're ready for a fight, you're not holding it like this. Now, most of the time, unless you're using a long sword, you're not holding it like this either. If you're using a long sword, you have it against your waist with your handle, and you have it like this. Yes, that is a stance. It's a good stance, actually. Especially for those heavy swings that you get from a long sword. But katanas do not have heavy swings. They have fast swings. There is a reason for the fast swings. It's to catch your opponent off guard. The faster you swing when you're attacking means the faster they have to swing when they're defending. If they're not good at swinging fast, they're not good at blocking fast, they aren't going to block your attacks. It's just not how it works. They're not going to block your attacks if they're not swinging fast enough, right? So always with the fast, fluid swings. Now, if you're to use a katana one-handed, which yes, there are styles of that, but that is not typically samurai's wielding style. If a samurai does it, this is how they would do it. It would be a step forward to get more reach. That is like the only time they ever do that. That's the only time they ever do one-handed, is if their opponent steps back. Because if you throw yourself back further than they are pushing forward, you have the opportunity to switch from defense to attack. Now, someone who is trained in their art who's trained really well in the art of swords, can do this really efficiently. Someone who, if they're going against someone who's also trained really well, they can defend against that really efficiently, i.e., doing this, closing that gap with a slash. Now, if they drop their sword, you have access to their vital organs. Which is why, if you have a sword like this, and if you're ready for a fight, if they swing too fast, you're not catching them with that. You're not. You're not catching the upswing defense. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It can't. It's not how that works. I say again, that is your draw. Draw it, holding it up, thumb, where your hand goes out. Your thumb should be off this way. Let me show you. Your thumb should be off this way, not this way, but not wrapped too tight, because you do want some shock. Because you do want them, because if they hit it too hard and you're holding it too tight, it flies back. It can break your wrist. It can actually break your wrists. So you hold your thumbs. That is why they have longer handles. Usually handles are just a tad bit longer. You usually hold your thumbs just a little bit to the other side. That way you have that like shock protection for if your sword goes backwards. You have your thumb as a brace, right? That is why you don't hold the sword so tight. Now, that also helps when it comes to swings. Just this kind of swing. So really, it's probably the easiest swing to learn with the sword is just to spin it like this. It really is just the easiest thing to do. Now, people who do this, especially in movies, you're not doing that with a real sword. This is the weight of a real katana. This is actually hurting my wrist. It's hurting my wrist. With a lightsaber, it's fine. It's not really going to get you anywhere. Just flashy scene. But I hate it when people don't understand that you do this with a short sword if you have a shield. When I say short sword, I'm talking long swords are your big, broad, like heavy swords. Short swords are your, I'm gonna hold it like this, and I'm gonna use it with one hand, maybe two hands if I need to. Short swords are meant for one-handed combat. Long swords are meant for two-handed combat. They have a much longer handle. Usually, you hold them with a flat edge like this. They're heavy swinging those things. You have to have strength to swing those things. You have to have strength to hold those things. Yeah, like, they're not light. Now again, the drawing is always wrong in movies. Get that out of your head right now. That is not, you don't ever, if you're looking at a samurai, you do not see them draw like that. Don't get me wrong, this is a really efficient way to draw, especially if you're coming against a sword attack, and throw it out of the way. Maybe catch them with a little bit of a swing back. Now here is actually where it gets interesting. You can do that with reverse grip. Here's why. You are stepping forward and throwing that against their blade. Usually you're not throwing that against a long sword, you're throwing it against a katana, which are not swung very heavily. They don't have that much leverage on you. Not that they couldn't if they switched their bind really quickly, but they have to be ready for it because you have to do like fast, right? Fast do that slash your stomach. That is going to cut their stomach open, I guarantee it, because katanas are sharp as hell. All katanas are insanely sharp. Like if I did this, I'd have chopped my hand every single time. Just a tap. Just a tap. Not a very hard tap, just a tap. My hand is sliced. It does not take much. Traditionally, if you draw a sword, your sword must taste blood. If you draw a sword more than an inch, if you draw your sword more than an inch, and you don't receive a fight, you're supposed to push down with your thumb. You're not supposed to move it. Not like this. You're supposed to push down with your thumb. That is how sharp katanas are. That is blood. I want to show you my little, like, how white my finger turns. That is blood. That's not a very hard press at all. That is blood. It's kind of insane. When you really think about that, that's kind of just insanity. Now again, draw like this, right here, stance. Now sometimes you can have it a little bit to one side or the other, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're ready for defense, typically you have it on one side. If you're ready to attack, you're going to hold it steady. If you are attacking, you are not defending. If you are defending, you are not attacking. If you are attacking, you are moving forward. If you are defending, you are moving backward. Not vice versa. That is important in sword fights. And most movies get that insanely down, like, really well. Now, doing these swings with the katana is fun. It's just fun to sit here and do this. It is. But unless you know what you're doing, you're not really getting anywhere with an actual fight. You want to go for their body, not for their sword. You want to make the bold swings toward them. And if you're pushing them, if you're pushing towards them, they are defending. They are not attacking you back. They are defending. If you are pushing towards them, they are not attacking. Now, if they want to attack, then they have to catch you in a bind, throw you back, start attacking you. They have to defend, catch you in a bind, start moving forward. Once you're thrown off balance, even for a split second, if they can use that to their advantage, they will. And it can happen against you, it can happen because it can be caused by you, it can be caused at you, right? Goes both ways. Now again, stepping back. Again, with the stepping back thing, if you're back stepping, right? You're doing this, you're catching their swings, you're stepping back. Let me get a little closer. If you're catching their swings, you're stepping back. Once you jump back, you can go forward, and they are forced to start defending. That is a good technique to use a lot. That is actually a really good technique to use. And it's honestly a little underrated in my opinion. That's all for today. Just figured I'd shed some light on actual katana use, expected uses. People with lightsabers do this. Unless you have a shield, you're not doing this. Because what you do is you block with the shield while you come with an attack. If the shield is not in front of you, the sword is in front of you. If the sword is not in front of you, the shield is in front of you. Now, if you're holding just if you're just at a drop stance like this and your shield is still mostly in front of you, my hand controls where the shield is, so my hand isn't like this. It's not away from me. It's a little slanted, right? It's not fully defending. It's a little slanted. The shield is more so in front of me than not. And now, for all intents and purposes, I don't actually have a shield. I do have a flame shield. I don't know where that is. Not the point. Point is, you hold a shield like this, then you can hold a sword like this. Now, in Star Wars, you can get away with using, well, hello, dog. In Star Wars, you can get away with using the Force as your shield, and then at that point, that is when the sword really is kind of just not doing anything. That is your lightsaber. It's essentially using the shield to deflect, using the sword to attack. That is it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you ever get the chance to hold an actual katana, you can feel the weight in the blade. What they mean by a lightsaber is light, is you don't feel the weight in the blade, but you do feel the weight in the handle. If you're holding it like this, you're going to feel the drag on the front. If you're holding it like this, you might feel the drag on the back. That is why most hilts are more middle mounted, and that is the best place to use them one-handed, or at the top and the bottom, which a lot of Jedi have been known to use. That is all for today. I will see you guys in a different video. Maybe I'll talk about swords again, maybe I'll talk about something else, I don't really know. But until then,